Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. And we have our very special guest today. We have Representative Anna Eskamani here. Scott set this up. Please, Scott, take it away.
Well, yeah, we're excited. And Anna, thank you so very much. What area do you represent exactly? What's your little district there?
Well, thanks for having me. So we serve basically the heart of Orange County. So that's the city of Orlando, Winter Park, Belle Isle, and Edgewood. But with redistricting coming up, our new district will include Edenville and Maitland.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. Ryan, is there anything you need? Anything you need from Anna right now? She can help you out?
I mean, how does one get keys to a city? I'm still trying to figure that out.
We'll talk.
All right.
He's been trying for years. So, all right. So I have so many questions for you. The first one I have is, and the one that's obviously right up our alley, is the financial literacy bill. I have several questions. One, how did it come to be? Two, it seems to have received bipartisan support. And three, what took so darn long?
My gosh, so this bill took about 6 years to pass. And it is bipartisan. It's one of those really special bipartisan moments where there is a commitment from all sides that we need our kids to be financially literate as they go into the real world. And this does require 1 semester of financial literacy for high school graduation. So it is something that every student will have to go through in our traditional public schools. And the reason why it took so long, honestly, I think it's just bureaucracy. There's also a financial obligation by the school districts to pay for this course to make sure that teachers are trained to provide it. And there can be some back and forth between all the stakeholders on who's going to pay for the financial literacy course. And we were finally able to find that common ground, that agreement. We've been able to provide some additional support to educators in the state this past year as well. And I think there's been a realization from our school districts to state officials to parents that this is such an important class to be required. And, some of the biggest forces behind it have actually been bankruptcy attorneys, because they actually see, face to face, like the potential consequences of folks not being financially literate. And if you do go to a 4-year college, I mean, there are credit card companies just waiting for you to pass them.
I was that guy. We've talked about that. I was that guy. I was very popular at CJ's in Gainesville that night when I got my first credit card.
And so, making sure kids understand like the risk associated with that and just how to balance a budget, how to plan ahead. None of this is being taught in our schools. And thankfully now, 6 years later, thanks to leadership of some lawmakers who are actually no longer with us. Senator Dorothy Huckel was a big champion for this. She passed away several years ago. So I'm grateful that many of us carried that torch to get this to the finish line.
No, that's awesome. So the curriculum itself, I mean, can you tell us anything about the curriculum itself, and how did we come by that curriculum?
So it would be crafted and approved by the Department of Education with public comment. And so the actual curriculum has not yet been approved, because that will be a summer project to help students in the fall be able to start enrollment. But it really is centered around basic concepts of budgeting, how to manage a bank account, what are the risks when it comes to taking on credit, what is a credit score. And so just some of those elementary issues that, some of us are lucky to have parents that teach it to us, but it's just not the case in every family that you have that baseline support. And so the curriculum is not necessarily set by the legislature, but it will be a public comment process from the Department of Education. And of course, educators will also help craft that curriculum, as they're going to be the ones who will actually teach it to their students.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said you made the statement that we don't know who's going to pay for it, but I mean, my experience is we're all going to pay for it if we don't teach our kids alongside calculus, which none of us use. Well, most of us don't use. I struggle to get through that one. But, simple things like, again, balancing a check. What does debt mean to people? I mean, to me, that's the biggest one. I think we need to teach our kids, and I don't know how we deal with the predatory lending that goes on. in the universities themselves, I mean, there's some predatory lending
Right.
practices.
We need to make them like sexual offenders where you can't be within like 100 yards of a
right.
school.
You have
Like-
to wear some kind of letter, scarlet letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like,
Totally.
I had zero financial literacy coming out of high school, and I walked right into the old Altamont Mall, and there was a Dell stand there, and they got me right away. And then my financial plan became, well, let's just wait 7 years till this falls off.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like literally what I did, because it was just they just so got ruined and then moved around to various like collections agencies and things like that. And just if somebody would explain to me like what a big impact that's going to have on you, especially like starting out so young and being really on your own, and how this like it's almost like having a criminal record in a way where you can't get anything done. And if you want it done, it's so expensive. Here's your 30% interest rate. Have a great day, sir.
Yeah, you don't have a risk-free rate of return anymore. I mean, that's I think again the debt component. By the way, I'm available to write this curriculum if you need me to. I could do that this afternoon.
Yes, I'll be sure to reach out. No, 100%, because we want to make sure that those who are actually practitioners are the ones who are helping to craft it, because it can be a disconnect if we're just relying on textbooks versus real life situations. And I really appreciate amplifying the predatory lending piece. It's unfortunate, but the influence of those institutions in politics is deep, and so we have to be really intentional in educating
there's
students.
influence in politics. Is that what you're telling me? Brian, were you aware of this?
I had not heard. I thought everybody was just doing a great job.
I'm learning a lot today. I'm learning a lot.
I wish it was always, happy-go-lucky and focused on what's best for people. But as y'all know, it's a lot of conflict. And so kids need to have the foundation to make informed decisions. I think that's the best case scenario in any educational setting, but especially something as important as financial literacy. It's always interesting to me how many interns that come to my office who have never even addressed an envelope before.
Oh, yeah.
And we teach them, where to put the stamp and where to put the return address.
I can never remember which side it is.
We take a lot of things for granted, right? And so something as important as how to craft your monthly budget, people don't know these skills. And so it's so important for that baseline to be established.
Yeah, no, I applaud all the lawmakers in the state of Florida for doing it. I see a lot of states are following suit now, now that Florida's taken the lead. So no matter what team you're on, I'm in favor of this effort. So we really appreciate it. Before we let you go, you've got a couple other projects you're working on. There's a couple other things I want to talk about. The first one is you were pretty adamant about getting this diaper situation under control. Talk a little bit about that initiative and how important that is to the citizens of the state of Florida.
I would be honored. So one of the bills that we filed this year, and an issue that we prioritized for my first years in office, have been to eliminate Florida's tax on diapers. So believe it or not, Florida still charges a sales tax on diapers for children and adults. And of course, this is a source of around $80 million in state revenue. So it does, pay for many of state institutions and programs and employees. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, especially in this moment of elevated inflation, that we should not be charging essential goods like diapers to have a tax. And the reality is that many of our even government benefit programs don't cover diapers. I think TANF is the only program that you can use to buy diapers. But of course, TANF is also used for food and other types of essential goods. And based on data we have around the federal poverty level, a lot of families have to make a decision between clean diapers and feeding their children. And we were very, very happy to announce near the end of session that we reached a compromise with our Republican colleagues to put into the tax package a 1-year tax break on all children's diapers, which will save Florida families around $43 million and will start on July 1st. My hope is for this to become a permanent tax break and to expand it to adult diapers as well. But it very much is a bipartisan victory for Florida kids and to really help our babies be healthy, safe, and strong as they grow here in the state of Florida.
So that's twice, Ryan, I've heard the word bipartisan support for a bill.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's.
I remember
I'm
hearing
gonna
that
look
a long
that
time ago.
when Anna leaves, I'm going to get a dictionary out and see what that means. But
Well, and just so that you'll know, obviously we have a lot of partisan debates, especially in Tallahassee, and unfortunately a lot of it is echoing some of the national rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say I serve as the ranking member in the Ways and Means Committee, so I do a lot of tax policy. It's one of my focuses. And I have to work very closely with my Republican colleagues if my goal is to get something done.
That's awesome.
If I'm just there to be, the naysayer, which I have to vote no on some things, of course, and I lead with grit and grace when those moments happen. But there's trust between me and my colleagues, and in particular on this tax break, I trusted my Republican colleagues last session to help me with this, because I actually filed an amendment to last year's tax package to have this tax break for diapers. And, because of the because of the timeline, my Republican colleagues really stressed that they weren't able to make this happen. And so I looked in the eye and I said, all right, well, I'm going to withdraw this amendment right now, because I don't want to put people on the spot and having to vote for something that I know you want to, but you just feel like you can't.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I'm accepting your word that we will get this done next session. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, I want to finish that topic. We got to take a quick break, but if you'll hang around, can we finish that? Because I want to talk about the new tax relief we're getting on necessities like gas and whatnot coming later this year. So I don't want you to run away on me, okay?
No worries. I'm here.
Okay.
You're listening to It's Only Money on Real Radio 104.1. We'll be right back, but you can go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com. That's the website. This is It's Only Money.
All right, Anna, we're back. You were talking about bipartisan support for some of these bills, and I just want to end that topic. But before I do, I want to emphasize what you were saying, which is, a lot of times when people leave the room, you guys are in a room together, you're trying to figure some things out, you realize there's a political appetite on one side or the other. But at the end of the day, you are trying to work together, and that's the vibe I got from you. And I want to be. If no other show in the entire country says this, that pleases me. So thank you for doing that. And then before I let you go, because I know you got to run, talk to me real quick about the relief on gas tax, and I think some other possibly food as well that's coming our way.
Absolutely. So part of the tax package that included this 1-year sales tax on children's diapers also included other sales tax exemptions, including hurricane preparedness, including back to school. But I think the one that sticks out to all of us is a sales tax on gasoline. So Florida has a pretty heavy tax on gas, which does pay for our transportation costs. Road improvements are often paid for by this gas tax. Part of Florida's budget this year is federally funded. In fact, about 40% of our state budget is federally funded, and this does include money from the American Rescue Plan. So what we did in legislature was utilize some of those dollars to actually offset the gas tax. My preference was to offset it for several months starting in July, but what became the ultimate version was a 1-month tax break in October. Now, there is a question, candidly, if American Rescue Plan dollars can even be used for a tax break. And it's yet to be heard from the federal government if that is allowed. But our intention is to try to offset the rising cost of fuel and, of course, inflation right now, and finding ways to alleviate the burden of our families and our workers here in the state.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, whether it lasts a month or a year, it'll be a welcome sight when it comes. And as you know, folks are a little unhappy about the gas situation. So we appreciate whatever you can do there in Tallahassee. And Anna, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for everything you do up there in Tallahassee, trying to take care of our wonderful citizens. Yeah, and clearly people are rich, right? Or wealthy. You don't have to be rich. I like the term wealthy better. I mean, to rich reminds me of like the Monopoly guy or something. But, there are people, there are regular people.
Now that guy I trust.
Yeah,
See, the problem, Scott, you don't have a monocle.
Monocle is, now, if you can meet a guy with a monocle, I mean, like, I'm all in.
What was his financial advice? He said buy Park Place?
Where is that?
Where is that? I can't find it.
Tune in to It's Only Money with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth, Sunday mornings at 7 on Real Radio 104.1. Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Edgewater Family Wealth is not a broker-dealer, is independent of RJFS.